Now, this is almost 3 weeks old, but I feel like we need to talk about this. I really do think we could talk about this. Um, I'm not sure what I'm going to call the name of this video, but sure enough, we're going to talk about Bruce Timm, Kingdom Come, DC Comics, DC Universe. There isn't enough money on the planet. DC Comics legend Bruce Timm, who did the Batman animated series, Superman animated series, Justice League, right? He also worked on the He-Man mini comics. If you remember the Masters of the Universe mini comics for the action figures, he thinks Kingdom Come is a bad idea. Claims to have a 1-star review. Well, I'll get into that. So James Gunn talks about the 1996. Now, I'll get into this in a moment. But it was supposed to be adapted into an animated version. However, according to DC Comics, Bruce Timm, DC doesn't have enough funding to invest in an animated version of the iconic series. So the animated version of Kingdom Come is still a far cry. Talked a little bit here and there. Let's go down. Here we have the iconic table. I love that table so much. That's been the trades. So here is, according to comic book movie, Butch Lucic, the executive producer of Justice League Warworld. Oh, that shitty movie. Once said during an interview, we originally talked about Kingdom Come, Bruce Timm and this Butch. So Butch and Bruce talked about this, okay? But changing regimes, we couldn't go forward with anything like that. They might incorporate it in the future with the new world, new continuity. But that was one that we talked about as an obvious possibility to continue. I think adapting graphic novels, there's too much in there. Whereas if you just take two of the miniseries stuff, you can make a better story. Okay, so it appears there's currently no definite plan to develop an animated series. So Bruce Timm explained the reason for the hiatus. So let's go. I'll get into this. I really want to talk more after this is over. Jesus, what an image that is. Um, Previously, during an interview at New York Comic Con back in 2017, Timm reflected on the same topic, explaining why the franchise is not ready to produce an animated version. He said, "The one that we hear all the time is Kingdom Come, and I have to like crush everyone's dream every single time because it's not within the scope of what we could do with these movies. The main thing that people remember from Kingdom Come beyond the story is the look. It was Alex Ross breaking big, doing photorealistic heroes. So if we did an animated version of Kingdom Come, it would not look like that. That's very true. We don't have the money. There isn't enough money on the planet to make it look like that, so there really is no reason to do it. Automatically, they would be disappointed. That would be the number one thing on Amazon, and Amazon reviews would be 1 star. Doesn't look like Alex Ross. Uh, However, there's new technology, so that was 2017. So let me get into this now. So Justice League War World is a piece of shit, and I would say some of the other series didn't fare any better. Here we have a lot of the heroes and mostly the superheroes. Okay, and let me see if I can flip it around to get a nice good image, maybe of Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman looked great. She looked great. Look at that from bottom to top. Um, so what's Bruce Timm talking about, right? That was 6 years ago, and here you got the guy who did Justice League War World. Um, Look, here's the thing about this. I've seen so many concepts, including the Bruce Timm version of these. Somebody had drawn a Bruce Timm version of Kingdom Come characters. They all look like Bruce Timm stuff. And judging on those, a lot of people seem to like it. I think it wasn't deviant art, but it was something. I mean, I'm sure you'll find those in deviant art as well, where you had that animated look, but it's Alex Ross, well, minus Alex Ross's input. I remember this series when I was a kid. I remember actually this was the first series that I collected as an adult because let's see, the first issue I got in May or June, probably June, because I think it ran all the way to like the end of summer. One issue per month, only 4 issues. And I was really, I mean, it was amazing. I mean, there was so much to this story. I wrote my own version of a fan fiction called Clark Kent and the Secret Justice, in which there were no superheroes. Everybody was in some sort of real life. I wrote this in 2013. There were Secret Service agents that had Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne and Batman and Wonder Woman. Then you had the secondary heroes as the random Samaritans, good Samaritans who did random acts of kindness. Then you had bounty hunters, licensed bounty hunters who went after people who missed their court dates or uh, who skipped on their bail. Then you had military, and you had maybe astronauts. You had people with unique powers. Because in real life, if you see people with extraordinary abilities, I mean, Magneto's real because there's this kid that you could stick magnets to. He can't float through the air, but you could stick magnets to him. There's a guy who could run for blocks and never get tired until like he runs like a couple of miles. It's like the guy can run like the Flash, but he's just well, he doesn't run super speed, but he can run like he doesn't stop. There are amazing people with powers, but they just don't, they're not dressing up in costumes. They're just people with powers. And so that was my idea, was to put them in these weird positions. And then Lois Lane from another universe knew who Superman was. So, it took one person to change the course of that parallel universe where Clark Kent was reduced to being a Secret Service agent to protect the president instead of living his life because the government found him. So that was my own thing to rival Kingdom Come, because Kingdom Come to me was the best thing. Okay? The only thing that would challenge that to me was the Injustice series and maybe Superman the Authority. But Injustice, they tried to do Injustice. They did it anyway. They fucking did it anyway. If Bruce Timm was in charge of all that, it's like, well, let's do it. Let's do Injustice. And I'm thinking, well, you did Injustice, and look what happened. You crammed 5+ years of story into 70 fucking minutes. Yeah? It was stupid. It was pointless. I'd rather just go back and read the comic books if you're going to do that shit. Here was DC Comics. Here was Warner Brothers, HBO Max, David Zaslav, and Toby Emmerich, and God, who else? Anne Sarnoff, and everybody else that was there working on this stuff. Here was their chance to challenge the boys, to challenge Invincible with a mini series that was very similar to the comic books, where it paced everything: year zero, year one, two, three, four, five, the Injustice storyline, and then you get into the prelude to Injustice 2, then Injustice 2, and maybe, God willing, you have the He-Man crossover. And I covered this stuff. I love those stories, okay? And I like the Action Comic stories with Mongol, the one that they did. They did War World, okay? They took the Action Comic story, pissed all over it, and adapted it into an animated movie. They took the other things and adapted it. We have never seen Kingdom Come in any animated form, whether it's a cameo or a multiverse thing, never, except on paper. Now, I say all this because it's not impossible to do, but it wouldn't be by studio standards. So here we have an issue of, can we make it good? Well, Flesher Cartoons made things good. You know what he did? He made uh, was it motion capture the old-fashioned way, in which you would take cell shaded art and trace it over film things. So you were able to make realistic movements the way Alex Ross would imply with his models. He took real people, okay? He took real people for this and made them into superheroes. Just the people that pose for Wonder Woman and Shazam, you recognize their faces, but they look like ordinary people, just like actors pretending to be superheroes. That's what he was trying to do. And it could have been done. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, not fucking Revelation or Revolution or Resolution, none of those. They took real people, muscular people, bodybuilders, stunt people, and had them act out like, parts of a cartoon. All this stuff. And they made successful cartoons. They made successful methods here. And while I don't think you're going to get exactly Alex Ross, I don't think the people care. Bruce Timm knows this. Bruce Timm knows that the people aren't complaining about Alex Ross. They're complaining about something else that is not not I don't know if it's Mark Waid and Alfred, but it's something about Kingdom Come. Maybe it's the religious undertones about Christ or Catholicism, because you have a pastor, okay? Um, but there is a way to go around these things without being completely disrespectful to uh, Norman Ross, Alex Ross, or uh, religious people or atheists or agnostics. I mean, maybe cater more to agnostics. But I mean, there is a religious undertones, but it's more, I would say it's more implied. Trying to reach out to as many people as possible. I love that series. I love that series so much. I bought a trade and I bought the Absolute Edition so many years ago. This is the 2006 edition. Okay. And here we are in 2024 or 2023, and we're 3 years away from the 30th anniversary. And they're making excuses. They make excuses. They made Injustice into shit. They made War World into shit. Okay, Justice Society, World War II is shit. I mean, how can we go on? What else can I tell you? Also, too, I believe this is also Alex Ross, but this is when Jeff Johns did a return to form of Justice of the Kingdom Come and Justice Society, and we got to see the Kingdom Come Superman for a while and Magog, and I think Mark Waid is bringing that back somewhere in October for a few issues. I don't know if it's going to be any good. I'm tempted to go to the comic book store in October and see what's going to happen here, because the last time he did just Kingdom Come, it was it the Kingdom, and it was awful. Like, the individual stories were good, but the bookend stories were just terrible. This wasn't that good. It really wasn't. Um, we know what we like. Okay, if you're at my age or in your late 30s, okay, you know what's up with these comic book stories. You know what's up with these movies, with these cartoons, and you're just like, you have a Groundhog Day syndrome. And we had been waiting for a Kingdom Come story for a long time. You know what I wanted? I wanted to see more Batman Ninja, more better things, better projects. If they had done it like Superman the Authority cartoon, if they had done anything else that really mattered, why couldn't they do this? They had now established that there's a multiverse. Flash established this. So you could have multiverse, you could have multiple Superman, you could have multiple Batman, you could have multiple characters. There should not be a problem with this. There should not be a problem with the Kingdom Come card. They made a fucking like audio tape version, audio book. They've done everything. They've made a novel. But somehow they can't do an animated form. Whether you're like doing stop motion dolls or you're using the Flesher technique, in which you're using, like, there was a Vinesauce showed a 1982 CGI commercial, or I don't know if it was a released commercial, and it had computer graphics that looked like something you'd see in the late 80s or early 90s, something really colorful. And they used people, like, they used real motion capture of old people in footage and in video form, and then used computer graphics to animate along to that, so it really flowed, it really felt modern. There's so many techniques today. Some of them are unorthodox, some of them are better. But I think Bruce Timm's time is done. Don't you? I think if he doesn't get fired now, he'll get fired by the next person. Because Bruce Timm, I mean, I remember somebody said Bruce Timm was always sad in one interview. In I have the Masters of the Universe mini comics guide, and Bruce Timm would always be sad because he's not getting hired by anybody. He's like, well, like, he's trying to look to be approved by the corporations, which is all you could do. And they hired him eventually to do the mini comics for the toys, and then he moved on to Batman. But I mean, for him, he just wants to toe the company line. But when they fuck with shit that you like, Bruce. And by the way, I met Bruce Timm at a Comic Con along with Kevin Conroy and some other people. When they fuck with stuff that you like and then you're crying about it, and then you start to realize, oh, is that what I did to your shit? Oh, fuck. Anyway, that's my rant for this week. We'll go back on Monday with some better things.